Anybody who knows me knows I can't help but dance when there's good music going. All right, hello everyone. We're going to take a few moments, let people filter in. In the meantime, refresh that cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy some tunes from our awesome team here.
Doug, not only you groove with the music, but I think you're on your board. I'm on your board too.
I am, see? I'll have to explain that to our guests, how it is that I'm like bouncing around like crazy.
Oh, that board.
Yeah, I'm on the balance board.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, folks, we're going to start in 1 more minute.
No, 16 attendees.
It's amazing how long a minute feels like when you're running a webinar. All right. We're going to go ahead and start today's program. Thank you, Virgil. All right, so good day, everyone. I am so pleased to have all of you joining us today for Went Partners Innovation Institute webinar, Achieving Success with Virtual Events, How to Create Experiences that Resonate. And hopefully you've gotten the sense that our team here is excited to create an experience that resonates. The best way to learn it is to do it. And so we're going to be implementing a lot of those practices in today's program. You know, the big question today in the COVID environment is how do we create virtual experiences that stand out? We are being forced to learn new skills, to create new ways of communicating, crossing the chasm, as it were. You know, virtual experiences by their nature are limited into this two-dimensional world, but we want to make them feel like three or maybe even four-dimensional activities. And I am really excited to bring together a first-class panel of experts to help make that happen. So let me make some introductions. First of all, my name is Doug Wendt. Wendt Partners is hosting this webinar, and I am a co-founder and senior partner of our firm. I'm speaking to you from New York. Our firm has offices in New York and Washington. Our focus is working with CEOs to drive growth through an integrated approach, and virtual events are a key cornerstone to our philosophy for clients. So with that in mind, I wanted to bring two world-leading experts to the table, and we've got them here. So let me introduce first Virgil Tabihe. Virgil is the president and CEO of VT Pro Solutions. There you go. VT Pro Solutions is in New York City. In addition to running his own event production company, he's been the senior audiovisual technician at the Grand Hyatt Hotel right next to Grand Central Terminal for many years, where he has led the production of some of the most incredible events for Fortune 500 companies, government agencies, large professional associations, and more. So he brings world-class experience to the table. So welcome, Virgil.
Hello, everybody.
All right.
You can introduce Silvana?
Yes, no, absolutely. I'm going to introduce Silvana. You got it. And then we're going to have Virgil give our first part of the program. So yes, thank you, Virgil. And in addition, joining Virgil on our panel today is Silvana Nani. Silvana is the Principal and Chief Innovation Officer of Corabi Consulting in Washington, D.C. So between the three of us, we've got the Northeast Corridor covered. That's clear. So she's joining us from Washington. She is a strategist, a coach, a trusted advisor to C-level clients from startups to large enterprises. Similar to Virgil, she's worked with some top names in the global enterprise community, as well as government association and startup clients. Her passion is delivering experiences that both fulfill a client's business goal, but also are fun and memorable for everyone who participates. So with the three of us together, I'm really excited to dig into what it takes to create experiences that resonate. So let me first share a couple of initial thoughts from my perspective, and then we're gonna hear from Virgil next, and then after that, Silvana, and then we're gonna dig into how to put all these pieces together. So we want you to walk away from today's event feeling that you have some tips you can use right away, some initial strategies, and that you have a bigger picture sense of what you could do to build more sophisticated programs as well. I can say that it's been a very interesting year in terms of virtual events. Zoom fatigue is real. It's actually been documented. The psychology and the physiology behind the challenge that we face engaging virtually is a real challenge we have to overcome. So how do we do that? I can tell you that what we are learning with our clients at Went Partners is that despite that fatigue, despite these limitations, despite the fact that people are working from home with kids on one side, pets on the other, and all the concerns about this crazy year going on, they want to connect. We have learned that people are, in a sense, even more eager to engage. They know that if they're going to come to a virtual event, that they don't want to just sit there and have it fly by. They want to engage, they want to participate, they want to have connections and experiences. So it's not just a challenge, it's actually a huge opportunity. We have an opportunity before us to create a different kind of experience for people that sticks in their mind and to some extent, honestly, sticks in their heart and makes them feel that they have been appreciated, that they have been engaged, that they have been entertained, and that they have been hosted with generosity as well as with high quality content. So my role, in addition to being moderator today, I'm going to talk about two different pieces in my segment a little bit later. I'm going to talk a little bit about content, and I'm going to talk about process. So we're going to wrap around the focus on the event itself, which is what Virgil and Silvana are going to focus on, with questions that I'll be discussing later in the program about how to create the right content and how to create the right overall process so that the right people come, and when those people come, that after the program you keep them engaged. So again, thank you so much for coming. I do have a couple of quick things I'm going to mention before I hand it over to Virgil for part one. First of all, this program is being recorded. So first of all, I want you to know that from a notice perspective. Second of all, everyone who registered or attended will be receiving a copy of the Zoom recording. We will also be posting an edited version of this on YouTube. Second of all, you will see some presentations today. We will package up those presentations and contact information for all of us in our follow-up email as well. So whatever you see today, in addition to the recording, you'll be able to receive the presentations, contact information, etc. Finally, if you have questions, you can certainly use the Q&A tool at the bottom of your screen, which is right on the bottom bar. It says Q&A, and we can answer questions as time permits that way. However, in addition, at a certain point in the program, we're going to actually switch from a webinar mode in which you are attendees and we are panelists into a mode in which it's basically like a Zoom meeting where we all become two-way participants. So I'm notifying you of that. If for any reason you don't want to, that's okay. Just keep your particular user screen muted, and you can turn your video off or make sure it's off. We'll let you know when we are about to make that switch so that you have ample notice if you don't want to participate in a two-way approach. But that's part of the experience. So I encourage you to allow us to do that if at all possible for you. All right, so again, the question here is very, very simple, and yet the answers are many and varied. And that is, we have to do virtual events right now, by and large. But even after the COVID period is over, virtual events are here to stay. They've been gaining steam for years. They're not going to go anywhere. They're going to be a part of our overall event execution arsenal, even in a hybrid world post-COVID. So how indeed do we create experiences that resonate? And honestly, what does that mean? What does it mean to create an experience that resonates? So Virgil, I'm going to open up with you. Let's talk about that. And I know you have some exciting ideas and answers to show us and for us to experience what it means to have an event that resonates.
All right, Doug, thank you. Thumbs up if you could hear me, right? All right, guys. I'm here to help you present in the virtual space. I'm going to show you how you create a virtual experience that will resonate with your audience. I'm here to help you upgrade your current experience to the next level. I'm here to help minimize Zoom fatigue and make it fun. All right, so let's get started. So before March 2020 COVID-19 lockdown, we attended luncheons, we attended dinners, conferences, summits, workshops, fundraisers, and other live events. Now we have empty stages and quiet rooms. So what do we do? What do you do? What do we do? We have to use 21st century technology that's already available to us, and we have to pivot into virtual meetings. We have phones in our pockets, in our homes, we have laptops and desktops, and we're going to use those tools to participate in webinars and Zoom meetings, right? We have webinar meetings, so go to webinar, Demio, click meeting. We have two-way communication with Zoom, Google Meets, Microsoft Team. These are the tools that we're using now that's creating some of the fatigue. And eventually all these platforms will develop that fatigue and monotony for the end user. So what do? We have to innovate, we have to invigorate, we have to interact this virtual experience. First, we're going to innovate. We're going to innovate how we use virtual meeting tools. Now, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just going to use it to our advantage so that the virtual meetings that we host and that we attend are a little bit different, maybe more fun, right? So the first thing we're going to do is decipher webinar versus Zoom meetings, right? So the versus one-way versus two-way video conferencing. Now, I'm going to do a quick little meme here for those of you that are afraid of the two-way communication, right? This is what's happening. It's audio only. You don't have to look good. You just do what you think, do what you do. But with the video,
Virgil, you look good regardless. But yeah, you're right on.
Thank you. So there's a different presence right off the back, right? So that's one way to already change the virtual experience. Now, we have to be visible. Being visible, turning on the camera, participating creates energy. And this energy is great for the host. It's also great for the audience that's attending. As for the host, it's interaction. You could see their smiling faces, maybe their body language. And for an audience, it's nice to know that someone else is there in the same space that you are, even though you're miles or hundreds of miles away, right? And we all have to be live in the moment. As a host, it's our job to really make this event as live as possible, be interactive as possible. So being live is critical. Playing pre-recorded content, it could actually maybe hinder us a little bit, because when you recorded that video, there's a certain energy that you put on that video that may not match the live virtual meeting that we are on currently. And on top of that, we could use social media in conjunction with what we're doing here. So you could do a Facebook group for post-event interaction or networking. It's like the second screen, as they call it. So you could be attending a Zoom seminar or a meeting, and you could interact on a second screen on a different medium as well. And with this, we're going to invigorate. So I'm going to show you a video of a live event. It's a business and coaching education company by Kim Walsh Phillips, and just watch. Here we go.
Just move on up. Move on up. But move on up. Watch out, but just move on
So here we go.
That was awesome. Awesome.
So you saw a
Thumbs
lot
up.
of interaction, that right? You saw a lot of this, a lot of movement. That's all interaction, right? And at this point, I'd like Doug to maybe start turning on their cameras if you want.
You got
to
it.
enjoy this interaction a little bit better.
So just to emphasize before you continue, I will be turning each attendee on one by one to join us basically as panelists. Okay, we ask you two things. Number one, again, if you don't want to participate in this part, just stay muted and have your video off. If your video is off, then I'll presume that that's the case. Second of all, we ask everyone to mute your audio just so that we can continue to hear the presentation. And then when we interact, people can turn on their audio selectively. Okay. All right. So go ahead, Virgil. I'm going to go ahead and bring people in.
All right. So like I said, that video had a lot of interaction. I think it engaged the audience really well and looks like a lot of fun. And the first thing that we need to do with something like this is to turn on the cameras, which is what we're asking you to do today. And by doing that, the energy that you exude will come back to me because I'm going to see you. Hi, Atul. I see you there. That's the one. Hi, Brenda. So right now, we're interacting. Thank you. Thank you for turning on your cameras,
Awesome.
right? I love it, love it, love it, love it. So already you're experiencing the difference, right? Oh, I love that virtual background there. So that's another tool that we could use to make our virtual experience already different.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Here,
hey,
emoji
Amy,
sticks,
how you doing? Hi, Brenda.
right? Emoji sticks. I call these analog upgrades right off the back, analog upgrades.
Hey, Kristen.
If you like an idea, you could just say, boom, awesome, right? Instead of saying, yeah, or clapping. This is a great way of just visually expressing yourself without distracting with a lot of audio from 50 people, 20 people, right? So just this, right? Love it, love it. And if you didn't like something I said, you could post one of these. All right?
During the practice session, I was using that one a lot.
So I love that I'm seeing all these people popping up. Like, hi, Lisa. Hi, Murray. Hi, Lisa, the other Lisa.
There we go.
So emoji sticks, cameras on, and swag boxes I'm going to talk about, but also during the regular events that we attend, normally is chats, polling questions, gamifications with rewards. If you're going to do any kind of polling or any questions, having a reward is always a great incentive for an Amazon gift card or a Starbucks gift card. And I see we have a little kitty over there with Amy. Hello. Hi.
Hi,
Ryan.
awesome.
Hey, Robert. So I just love all this interaction right off the back. So I'm going to go through the first things on my screen there, which already spoke about, which being visible, turning your camera, the virtual backgrounds, the emoji sticks, and now I'm going to talk about the swag, meaning the swag boxes. We spoke about this, lights, camera, action. This is a lot of interaction that already I've had. I've actually kind of lost track because I love seeing all these people. So we spoke about this and we're actually doing it right now. Virtual backgrounds, a tool. Did I say that right? I hope I did. He has a virtual background, which is cool. So you can make it fun. This is one way of making it fun. See, I think George has a virtual background too over there. And so these are the things that's already making it fun. I'm actually really excited right now. I'm seeing all these faces. The emoji sticks we spoke about, right? It's a really, really good idea. I love it. I love it. Actually, I should use this one.
So Murray's library behind there, I was on an actual Zoom meeting with a client, and nobody believed that the bookshelf behind one of the contacts was real. So in the middle of the discussion, the guy reaches behind, quietly pulls out a book and waves it at us, just to prove he was really there.
I should do one of these.
You got it. Oh, that was even better. That's awesome. I didn't make that one.
All right. So see this interaction that I'm getting from emoji sticks. If you had one of those, you could have given me a thumbs up and I've been like, thank you. That to me, that already gives feedback. Thanks, Doug. Feedback of what's going on. If I'm sensing a low energy in the audience, I could see that. Or if I said something that they don't like, I could maybe pivot which direction I want to go to. So this interaction right off the back changes your virtual experience. Now the swag box. Swag box is an enhancement that's tangible for your audience to use and get and touch and receive and feel, right? So if you have this feature, let's say you're having an event and you wanted to have a VIP feature, you could offer this. This is something that they're gonna enjoy during an event. I've actually had this experience already. So I'm gonna show you two examples. The first example is this, this swag box for an awards event. So instead of attending this event, sitting down in front of a computer and just watching it, you could have done a VIP service, or it could have been just part of the event and you get this automatically. Now you can enjoy this event with a pin, a sticker, a little pamphlet, possibly an award if you're a recipient, and a tumbler. The tumbler, you could put anything in there. It could be water, soda, or liquor, right? You're not going anywhere. You're gonna drive. No, you're not. You just stay sitting down there watching the event as it happens. So right off the back, already as an attendee, you're already seeing and feeling and tasting that experience on a virtual event. Another example is this. This is an actual event that I attended that gave me some of the background and knowledge that I'm sharing with you today. This is an event that I attended for 3 days, and they sent me, this was a VIP package upgrade that I opted for, and I received a hat, a journal, Post-it notes, an event program, stickers, coffee mugs, emoji sticks, and I use all these tools during that event. We referred to the program as to what page, we gave our reaction, we used Post-it notes to use different color codes as the event went on. So,
and Virgil, can I just add a few thoughts on the swag?
Yes.
First of all, this is now perhaps the secret weapon that a lot of people don't understand the potential value of. And I'm going to say 3 things about it. Number 1, engage people in using whatever is in the swag box at the actual event. So make it interactive. Use these. Don't think of them as swag. I almost hate to call it that. Of course, that's the name. It's been the name for years, but it's not swag. These are tools to engage people. We were talking about using this example. Hey, everybody, pull out your journal. You can do this journal and write down one thing that you want to accomplish. You know, make this interactive for people. It totally changes the psychology of the experience. The second thing I want to mention is if you're going to do a swag pack, make it a good one. Our company recently participated as a guest in a major national virtual event, and I quickly learned something, which is that expectations are very high. When people get that package, now that is their only tangible connection to you, your brand, and your event in a physical way. Don't skimp on this. Don't be like, oh, here's a bookmark in an envelope. Make this physical, make it high quality. The value of this to people is now much higher. And the third thing is make it clear to people when they register that you need to know where to ship this, because all those business office addresses that we have in our CRM databases may or may not be the right spot. And for the most part, it's probably the wrong spot. So make sure to be clear. We need to know where to ship your box so you get it, whether you're at home, family, friends, you know, wherever you are in the world, let us know how to get it to you. So 3 key thoughts on making that tangible connection through the swag pack. Thanks, Virgil.
Awesome. Thanks for pointing that out, Doug. He's absolutely right about this, because after I received this package in the mail, nothing else kind of compares to it. So it set a high bar for me. In any case, here are 5 things that you could do right now. All right, I think we're doing 2 of them already, which is, you know, being visible, 2-way conversation, using virtual backgrounds. You know, you could now you could print emoji sticks. We could gamify things with awards, and also implement breakout rooms. Breakout rooms, you may not know, is a feature in Zoom meetings which lets you do focus groups. So let's say if you're a team of 20, you could do groups of 4s or 5s or whoever. How to do it, just to have a little bit more interaction, because, you know, when you attend conferences, there are breakout rooms, right? So it could be topic A, topic B, and these people will just go to those rooms to have a little bit more of a focus scenario where they could learn something specific that they wanted. So along with all this comes the technology, right? Audiovisual technology. It could be as simple as this. It could be a one-man show, a two-man show. It could be something like this the people do in their home office or in their living room, getting it together, which is totally doable. If you're doing something intimate, something personal, maybe you could do this. You could do all that stuff, and you could apply everything that I've done and showed you in that other video to this. It doesn't have to be 200, 100 people or 500 people. It could be as intimate as 5 to 20 or less. And you could go big, right? This is a schematic, which you probably don't understand, but it kind of looks like this.
I had it memorized already. No, I'm just kidding.
In the bigger productions, what you're essentially doing is you're creating a TV studio environment, and you're pushing it out to Zoom or to whatever platform you want to use. And with that comes a lot of gear, comes a lot of people and equipment, and your quality and your production quality is that much better, right? And people who use this are people like Tony Robbins. He hosts tens of thousands of people live in stadiums and in venues, and now he couldn't do that, so he pivoted himself. He did virtual meetings. He did this Unleash the Power Within virtually. He hosted 14,000 plus people virtually, right? And he did it. So we're not limited to because of the pandemic. Actually, it's reinventing ourselves to be to how to reach other people. And in fact, a lot of people could be reached further now because you could be in a different time zone, different country, different state, and we could still meet in the same room that we're in. Another example is wrestling, SmackDown, America's Got Talent are using similar concepts and technologies that I showed you. So like I said, here are the 5 things you could do right now, tomorrow, and I wish you luck on that, and I hope you enjoy those new tools. This is presenting in a virtual space, and this is my contact information. Hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you for participating and turning on your cameras. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Virgil. And I want to mention just 2 things that I think are really important to note. First of all, there you go. I hope everybody liked it. If you liked it, if you liked what he had to say and you've got some good ideas, give a thumbs up. Let's do it. So first of all, he's speaking to us from VT Pro Studio, which actually delivers these capabilities. So I think that's important to note. There you go. So absolutely. And in fact, we've been practicing with some of this technology. A big piece that people don't realize is the power of picture-in-picture. Okay, creating multiple layers. Virgil's been using it very subtly at bits and parts throughout the program. But our minds, are accustomed to this very one-layer system, which is what Zoom and all the web systems do out of the box. What multiple computers and what a studio system allows at the very base level is creating a multi-layered experience. So for example, if we have 2 different people who are doing a discussion with one another in the same space, or excuse me, in different spaces, so like 2 panelists, maybe there's a person interviewing and a person being interviewed, through the use of the studio model, you can have those 2 people appearing more as if they're actually in the same space. The other thing that we saw in every single one of those examples is that group effect. The fact that everyone's cameras were on at least at some point and they captured that energy, and that became a huge visual piece. I think that is a huge lesson, that we are trying to create a sense that people are together, even if it's virtually. In fact, the Tony Robbins example and a couple of others, they literally set up the screens to virtually create a surrounding environment, not only for the participants, but also for the speaker to feel engaged. I know for myself, when we started bringing everyone in to panelist mode, honestly, my energy level went up. And I think Virgil and Silvana were expressing the same thing. So excellent, excellent points. Before we go over to Silvana's comments and her presentation, are there a couple questions, any key questions that you want to ask? If so, just kind of raise your hand and I'll try to make sure to capture everybody here. Does anybody have a question they want to ask? Excellent. Atul, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, Virgil, great presentation. Just want to understand how you use the power of this visual communication, two-way visual communication in a meeting of 50 people versus 500 people or 5,000 people.
Great
Not everyone
question.
has the studio capabilities you have to set up multiple screens or dozens of screens. How do you manage that?
I actually prefer the smaller meetings. I think it's more intimate. I could have FaceTime with you in smaller meetings. The big meetings is, it's for the masses. You do try to be personable with them, just like how I was calling out names as they were popping up. That's one way of acknowledging them in the presence of the virtual screen. So it's scalable. All the stuff that I do, you could do for 500 or for 5 or 10 people. So it's how you're going to strategize your event that's really going to dictate what technology you're going to use. Okay,
Yes.
so you just can't throw it in the air and land where you want to. You have to have a purpose. And I think Silvana is great for this. You could talk to her about how to strategize and use the technology, because the technology is there. Yeah. I don't have all of the technology, but I know it's there. But if I need it, I'll use it because that's what you want. Yeah. Right? So it's what you want to happen in your meeting. Then we could talk about how you want the technology to use. But ultimately, it's the two-way interaction. It's a two-way communication that's really what is setting this to become a different experience. To me, that's really the bottom line. Just like how I'm seeing you and you're asking me a question, I heard you and everybody else did. It's about that instead of not seeing a face. It's okay, you could hear somebody, but it's better if I see your lips moving. I can see your eyes. I can see the expression on your face. So I know what state you're in. And you can't do that just by listening, right? It's better when you have a visual representation behind it.
Great, thank you.
And I'm going to make one other point, and then we're going to hand it over to Silvana. And that is, understand that we are utilizing some of Virgil's technology, but I'm not at Virgil's studio. So there are some things that have to be set up and configured at the site or at multiple locations. And one thing we've been talking about is actually a kit that can go and we can guide a speaker or presenter through the setup process so that they're set up. But it can be run remotely through a studio such as Virgil's. So even if you're just sitting at home, we can still deliver a lot of this capability through a virtual connection. And that's one of the things that we wanted to make sure we had a chance to showcase today. But Virgil's point and your question really perfectly bring us to Silvana's presentation. So let me just recap. Silvana's going to take us into the space of how do we create intimacy? How do we create a sense of place around these experiences? Her expertise is on working with executives and the high-level decision makers to have social and business experiences that are very intimate and personal and memorable. And so she's going to share with us those keys to success and how to make them happen in a virtual environment. Silvana.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Both Virgil and Doug did made my job much easier and actually cued it very nicely. So what I would like to do today in the time that we have, and I want to make sure that we close on time, is to share a little bit about my philosophy or how I approach it and my experience, and to give you a little bit food for thought and a little bit of tips. But before I go there, we have heard for the last 35 minutes about interaction. And so I would be remiss and I would not do service to you if I don't understand better, why are you here? Can you just put on your chat and tell me what brought you to this webinar? So maybe I can glean some information and make some of my points more specific to what you're looking to get out of this or gain.
And I just opened up the chat to everyone, by the way. So to make sure everyone's able to do that. So you could type your answers.
Just one word or two, just, are you in the event business? Are you a business person that is responsible to engage people? Are you outreaching? Are you marketing? A little bit of that will be very helpful. And I am trying to see all panelists. See, this is where I see. Okay, good. Effective event ideas, unique ideas when hosting nonprofit, doing webinars to engage and offer support. Great. Thanks, Lisa. And thank Idalis. Anybody else? Okay, so that's a good start.
Oh, excellent. And Murray added virtual events at a business school, ideas on how to improve that.
Excellent.
All great inputs. Thank you all.
that is wonderful. Okay, so, when Doug spoke about me, he said that I'm a strategist and I'm a coach and I'm a trusted advisor, as well as running my company and so on. But somebody like you will say, well, what does it got to do with events? Well, in my job, and actually in all our jobs, we're always dealing with people, and most of the time, even if we don't know it, we are either in expectation management or people management sort of business, ultimately in the end, if you take a step back. And so in my job, I am often asked for trying to create to set up a meeting, to set up a event that actually delivers a business purpose. And so I've thought a lot, and I have been trying to turn some of those best practices into things that I can share with you today. And I am, see, Virgil is much better than me on this. So there you
There
go.
we go. You got it.
I am, so what I'm going to talk about is business events that deliver. And what I wanted to start you and sort of center you is starting with a why. Why do we get together? What is this event for, and what are we trying to accomplish? And very often we have three main reasons why we get together. We either want to connect, we want to share, and we want to learn. And it could be a training, it could be a way to share best practices, or it's just a networking and connecting event. And when I design the events, I remember the why, because that makes it easier for me to shape the experience and deliver that experience that we are aiming for. So intent is always very much part of everything that I do. Then we talk about communication. So yes, communication can do absolutely anything, but how we use it and how people receive it is different. So we use communication to teach. We can use communication to change attitude or belief. We can use communication to incite behaviors. Again, I take a lot of attention to what the purpose of the event and the intent of the event is in order to design the correct event and communication that will deliver the results. So you're saying then, what is the secret sauce and what does work? In the events that I usually do are taking in-person networking events or meetings where business leaders, CEOs, and key executives get together to either network, to learn something from each other, to peer advisory groups, and so on. And so now with the virtual world, it's very difficult to parlay that feeling, that intimacy, that experience that you have in person, raising a glass of wine or having a coffee, into a virtual event. So what I have taken onto me is to trying to emulate that experience by focusing on storytelling, by totally understanding who the audience is and why they're there for, in order to curate and deliver the correct content and communicate it specifically. Personalization. So we talked about the swag, and although I'm not really crazy about the notion of swag, the way that we have deployed it is we have actually made it part of the whole virtual experience. And the package that our attendees get is very purposeful, has got items in it that me as the MC of the event will use and invite the attendees to actually participate by using the items that they get. But the most important part, the last two ones, and these are my all five, is make it interactive and make it fun. And there is a little bit of gamification there, and there is a lot of other innovative ideas how to promote interaction. But ultimately, in the end, all of those are designed with the purpose of the meeting in mind. So with that, I'll walk you very quickly through one of the last events that I did. It was a virtual wine tasting salon. And it was with 30 CEOs. And the idea was that we were emulating a salon dinner that they would have every quarter, but doing it virtually. So for that, I have a wonderful, innovative partner and co-creator, Jason Tesaro. And Jason has a lot of experience and worked with who is who in, the pop industry and Coachella and, articles for GQ and a lot of other names that we know very well. And so the two of us together came up with the idea of picking local wines that are very specific, especially in the DC metro area, because the grapes have come all the way from Italy. So they're not native American grapes. They're native Italian grapes. So
what's so wrong about Native American grapes?
Nothing. These
I'm
people
just teasing.
No, but the funny part about it is we chose that specific winery and that specific thing because we wanted to connect the geography of Italy and something fun. It's the middle of the summer. People cannot go on vacation. So we wanted to give them a sort of like a virtual tour and experience of Northern Italy via food and via drinks, while having two speakers talking about heavy subjects like economy and the market and so on. So it was quite an interesting dynamic how to weave in the fun part, the wine tasting, add a little bit of lightness of leggero, as they say in Italy, with the wine and with the little tidbits about what part of Italy the wines came. But we also were able to do two other things. So we set up the discussion for, and the speakers, the fireside chat. But we also, what we included there, it's a little bit of piece of Americana. So we paired the wine with a local cheesemaker that makes wonderful handcrafted cheeses. So in one stance, we were promoting a local, winery that is very specific in what they do, a local cheese maker, and a little bit of geography and the context of Italy with the talk. And it was about an hour and a half, and it went very well. And the other thing that I want to point out, and Doug mentioned it, and this is really important, the white glove service before the event, meaning the way that you communicate and correspond with the attendees, and then thinking through of all the little details of the production of the package. It was the middle of August. So we learned a lot of lessons. For example, the ice packs over 2 days shipping melted. So those were little things that, although we thought ahead of time, you don't always have a way to make sure that it always happened how you designed it. So we were ready on hand. Some packages didn't go. So ready on hand, and we got online on the phone and found a local wine shop to deliver similar wines to make up for the fact that shipping didn't happen. Those are all important things that make the experience much more special, because they opened their package, they opened their wine before the meeting. We went through the tasting. They changed from the first wine to the second wine. They tasted the crackers, they tasted the cheese. And although they were not all together, they all raised the glass and they all experienced the tasting while being on their own safety of their home and not face to face with each other. And that's what I want to leave you with. I can talk about this forever, but I think it will be nice to open the floor for questions and answers, and see if there are other things that probably resonated with you and you want more information.
Silvana, can you go back one step? I'm going to point out 3 things that I want everyone to make sure they see on this list when you showed the description of your event. First of all, this was a 90-minute event, door to door, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different segments. So one of the key takeaways is short, segments. Keep it moving, keep it changing. Don't make this monolithic. Whereas you might have done a 4-hour in-person event to accomplish the same thing, and you might have had each fireside chat be 45 minutes, shorten that down so that things are maybe half as long to a third as long, and it flows quickly. I think that's one key point. A second key point is a theme. You went through great lengths, Silvana, to create a theme for the event and to tie it, as you said, to localization, to tangibility. Again, think about the swag box going beyond being a swag box, being essentially a tool for the educational experience. And the third thing, and I know you wrote it here, but I don't think people understand necessarily unless they experienced it, how powerful this is. I happen to know I've been to Jason Cesaro events, her business partner. He is a masterful storyteller. It is critical if you're going to do events of this nature or any events where you want to hold the attention of an executive audience to have an outstanding storyteller, someone who can entertain, engage, and educate all in one. You need that kind of energy and that kind of presentation skill. So my 3 takeaways: think differently about how to structure the event, have it change up regularly. Number 2, connect the dots very tightly and very strategically with a theme, with localization, tangible, intangible. And number 3, have a first-class storyteller to serve as a key player in creating the experience.
That is why you are my partner. I love working with you. You did it nicely. The other thing I wanted to add or clarify: preparation, preparation, preparation. Your point number 2 is very well taken. I learned my lesson. 2 important speakers was too much. So take a step back and think about, what are you trying to accomplish here? And we wanted to go with a bang, so we had 2, but it was really hard from my perspective. So the way that I addressed that is I painstakingly had at least 1 or 2 sessions before the event with both the speakers. And when I emceed the event, I made sure that I was keeping it going, I was keeping it light, and I made sure that everybody felt like their questions were answered, but at the same time not felt rushed. So preparation, it's a key.
Yes, and I'm going to tie into one more thing and then open it to questions. You talked about the challenge of logistics. I have a number of friends who are in the food service industry, and this is a field that is rapidly changing. I participated in one virtual event where they used dry ice to ship perishable product to the participants, which was great, except that it arrived frozen. So then we needed at least 24 hours after its arrival for it to thaw for the event. I also know a number of caterers who are now building teams of delivery personnel to provide delivery, for a virtual event that's in a given region. So let's say you have 25 participants spread throughout, let's say, the greater Baltimore area, because I know a number of you are joining us from Baltimore. There are catering companies that, used to be taking everything to one venue, and now they're using their prep kitchen to prep packs, and they're setting up a delivery schedule to ship them all or deliver them all out. So this is a rapidly changing aspect of it, and I encourage you to reach out to people in the catering and events business and ask them what they're doing, because there's probably a lot more creativity going on than you may have realized. So let's go ahead and let's open it up to questions for Virgil and Silvana. And I'm keeping an eye. So anyone has questions, just go ahead and raise your hand and unmute. And
I actually want to address something that Idalise asked here. She said a nonprofit doing webinars to engage and offer support. I think that if you've done webinars before, try Zoom meeting. Have that interaction. I think if I'm going to give you money, I want to see who I'm giving money to, right? So I think one of the first steps is just engage in a two-way communication. I think that's a good first step to try something different for a fundraiser event instead of just a webinar.
Absolutely. And by the way, for those of you who are wondering how we did this, it's a little secret that we use the webinar format because we wanted the attendee tracking, the registration process, and all the other elements that are only in the webinar side of Zoom's universe. if you run a webinar and you convert the participants into panelists, you have technologically a Zoom meeting, right? So this is running just like a Zoom meeting. It's not exactly the same. The tools are different between the webinar side of Zoom and the meeting side of Zoom. For example, we can't do breakout sessions if you run it as a webinar. So there are pluses and minuses, but it's worth considering that you can, within certain constraints, do a webinar that also becomes a Zoom meeting style experience. And again, you know, there are little differences, but it's worth considering. Questions, feedback, things that people want to dig into further? Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
It's me
Atul.
again.
Yes,
Again.
that's good.
So something you
I like your library.
Thank you. Not my library, but I happen to have a picture of this library.
It's Murray's library. Go ahead, sir. Yes.
So something you just talked about. So Zoom webinar does not allow for breakout rooms.
Right.
I don't know why it's a technical limitation, but how do you overcome that challenge? Do you run Zoom meeting and Zoom webinar together? If you have to, let's say, run a large event for 500 people, and sometimes during the day you want breakout rooms, you use Zoom webinar for the main event, and then you run Zoom meetings side by side?
You should just do straight up Zoom meeting. You're going to complicate your technology if you're going to switch from one type to the other. I would, if it's going to be a high volume event, use Zoom meeting right off the back.
Okay. And I think the other thing to understand is that at the higher end of the sophistication range, you're going to see two things that are beyond what we're directly demonstrating here. One is the use of multiple Zoom instances at the same time, so that, for example, in Virtual Studio, he can run, you know, the panelists, let's say in that what am I trying to say? In like an interactive interview as their own streams and connect it in so that you have picture in picture. So one thing technology allows us to do is actually run multiple Zoom instances into one feed. The other thing that we didn't get into in this webinar, but that is starting to develop, is there are companies that are developing other cloud applications that connect these dots. So for example, I participated in a virtual event in which the primary event was running off the Zoom platform, but then when we went to breakouts, it was actually in a separate platform that had an actual visual schematic of a conceptual meeting room, and you could choose what table you wanted to go to. The idea was to be able to come and go as you please. So there's a lot of innovation developing in this space. Some of these tools are relatively inexpensive, others are extremely expensive. But so that's the other thing to consider, is that, you know, a lot of the experiences that you're probably seeing are running on 2 or 3 different tools together, wrapped in a package, okay? But to go back to Virgil's point, in many cases, the simplest way to do it is to run a meeting. You still have the controls, but you have the interactivity built in.
Correct.
Thank you.
Excellent question. Yes. By the way, I was going to comment on Amy's cat because I have a cat on one side of me and a dog on another. And the cat likes to jump over my desk when I do standing height. I've actually participated in virtual events in which people have pulled in pets and other things like that. Like, if you've got a cat, show us your cat. If you've got a dog, make them bark. You know, like, there's no problem with engaging in the fact that most of us are working from home. Or if we're working at the office, we're one of 20 people instead of one of 200. So that's another thing. Feel free to make it a little personal. Obviously, you know, there's the line of making sure we're not making people feel uncomfortable about anything that's unique to them. But at the end of the day, we're all living through this together. So making that a reality that, you know, you don't have to pretend you're in a studio, unless you're Virgil and you are in a studio, that's different. But for the rest of us, a little bit of real life interactivity that acknowledges the rest of our lives is perfectly fine, and in fact can be a lot of fun. Other questions, comments, things you'd like to see us talk about further in another program? Yes, Silvana, go ahead.
There is no question. I'm looking at the chat room here, and I see that Veronica is talking about a non-for-profit organization that needs to collect data. Zoom meeting is not a good platform, and I know, you know, all 3 of us geek around processes. Without a process, you cannot go anywhere. So in a way, we sort of assume that the process is always there. So I wanted to cue Doug because
Yes.
we have all these strategies and we have these technologies that enable us to achieve what we want. But the technologies that we have right now can actually interconnect. So you have the marketing with your event production, event execution, and then post-event. So Doug can tell us a little bit more about that, because to me that has been very helpful, trying to create that holistic view of all the tools that help you from the beginning to the end.
Thank you very much, Silvana. And yes, I'm going to spend just 2 minutes on this. The other piece of the equation that goes outside of the event is getting people to it and getting people engaged afterwards. And what I'm showing you here, so this event, we ran the registration and everything else using the native Zoom tools. But we utilize the HubSpot platform for our CRM, our sales automation, our marketing automation. So for our next event, I wanted to step it up a notch. So we built a landing page on our website. This is going to be for our end of October. This is our next webinar. We're doing an event specifically for the industrial market. So what is involved in that? So we developed a landing page, again, running on our platform. And then we needed to create an invite list. So we searched our entire CRM database for people who met those criteria. So it's very specific. And then we're creating a campaign, running the event, utilizing the campaign functionality in our marketing automation system so that we can track who came, where they came from, how they got engaged, did they attend, afterwards, what was their survey feedback. And in fact, this is a workflow in our marketing automation system to connect these dots. So in this case, someone will fill out a form, they will register for our event, then they'll be added to the webinar using a workflow that connects the two systems. They'll get an automated follow-up email, now branded by us with their webinar join link. So there is a whole nother layer of what you can do here, which is to tie these pieces together with your CRM, your marketing platform, and other technologies. And what that allows us to do is extend things a lot further and gain a lot more information. So for example, when I go into the CRM system that we use, I'll be able to see who registered for this webinar, who attended, who followed up and responded to our follow-up email. I have that information, so I have a sense of what to do to build those relationships post-event. So again, a lot of different pieces here. The primary focus today is in the event, but we also want to give you just a taste of beyond the event. Lisa, did you have a question? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I saw you raise your hand. Okay, so I know it is 12:59, and one of the other key priorities that we always attend to and that we recommend is when you set a schedule, stick to the schedule. So again, I'm going to say thank you so much to all of you for joining us. We hope that you learned a lot. We hope that you had a little bit of fun. And again, we will be following up within the next 2 business days with the recording, the presentations, and information so you can reach out and learn more from us, from Virgil, and from Silvana. So my thanks to Virgil and Silvana and all of you for joining us for today's program. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
All right. Yes, it was an absolute pleasure to have all of you with us. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Hey, it's a dance party.
That's it.
Yes. Everybody left. I thought everybody wanted to stay dancing.
We got a few people want to see just how crazy we get with the dancing. Woo!
Well, it was lovely. I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Are we? Is everybody out of the? Oh, there's
Not
still
yet.
people left.
Yep, no problem. We're almost there.
One more. There we go. Okay.
I'll stop the recording too.